Have you ever gotten that feeling? You know that one where you just poured like all your energy, all your time into crafting this incredible PR report?
You bet.
You've got all the mentions, all the engagement, every little thing meticulously tracked, and then it's like it barely even makes a dent with the CEO.
Oh yeah, I know that feeling.
Almost like they see PR as this thing that's just sucking up resources instead of actually, bringing real strategic value to the table. I know Philip Odiakose talked about how easy it is for PR to kind of get pigeonholed as a cost center.
Right, yep.
And that really, really stuck with me.
It's something we hear a lot, about PR teams putting together these reports that are beautiful visually, and they've got tons of data, but they end up just being, victims of like what we could call the flip-through report syndrome, right?
Oh, yeah.
Where all that effort goes into, compiling everything, making it look great, and then the CEO just kind of flips through it quickly, and that's it.
Yeah.
It's like, what was the point?
Right. It's like they're not really engaging with it.
Exactly.
So, I mean, that's kind of the core problem that we're diving into today, right?
Yeah.
It's how do we make these reports actually matter? How do we make them grab the CEO's attention and really, showcase the strategic power that PR actually has?
And show that PR is a vital part of the business.
Absolutely.
Not just, some side thing.
And the big idea we're exploring is that to really hit home with leadership and to show that strategic value, PR reports have got to include metrics that are focused on the CEO.
Yeah.
And this isn't about, striking anyone's ego, right? It's about talking their language.
Right.
It's about presenting data in a way that actually speaks to their priorities.
Exactly.
So we're going to dig into like why the CEO-centric approach is so important, and then like what does a CEO dashboard, in practice, what does that actually look like?
Yeah. How do you build one?
Yeah, exactly. And we'll share a real world example, story basically of how this played out.
Perfect.
And even go a little deeper into what it means for a CEO's reputation, beyond just the company's brand.
Because, the CEO's reputation is tied to the brand.
Oh.
It's tied to the company.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's tied to all the other things that they're involved in. It's all connected.
Exactly. Yeah.
So to start, let's talk about this idea, this perception of PR being a cost center.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think it is a perspective that a lot of CEOs, understandably have,
Yeah.
Because it can be tough to like directly measure
Mm-hmm.
the return on investment for PR.
Right.
It's not like sales or direct marketing, where you can track things so easily.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a different beast.
Right. And that's a really key point.
Yeah.
Because the impact of PR, it often feels a lot less, concrete, right? It's kind of this fuzzy thing sometimes. But here's where things get interesting, I think.
Okay.
PR is in this unique position within a company because it's the one that's solely focused on shaping and protecting the brand's public reputation.
Day in, day out.
Day in and day out.
Yeah.
And we can't forget that, the brand is ultimately the CEO's responsibility.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. It all comes back to them.
They're the face of the company.
Exactly.
And reputation, it's more fragile than you might think.
Oh, yeah.
A company can have great financials, be making tons of money, but then they have like one big hit to their public image and it can just completely undermine everything they've built.
Right, right.
PR is the guardrail for that, for that intangible but so important asset,
Okay, so let's get more into this flip-through report syndrome,
Yeah.
We've all seen it, right?
We've all been there.
Yeah. You hand over this report, you're showing all this positive media coverage, engagement's up. Mm-hmm.
And it's like the CEO is just skimming the surface.
Yeah.
What do you think is going on in their head in those moments?
I think the thing that's so interesting to think about there is that unspoken question, that's often in the back of their mind. And drawing from Philip Odiakose's experience, it's often like, okay, this is all good for the company, but like, what does this actually say about me?
Yeah. Right, because that's their main concern.
Yeah, it's a natural focus for someone in that role.
Right, absolutely.
They're thinking about their own performance, their own impact.
And it's amazing, actually, how much more engaged they get when the report includes data on their own performance.
Right.
Like their mentions, their sentiment scores, all of that.
Especially if it's compared to their competitors.
Oh, yeah.
Because then it becomes like, oh, okay, how am I doing compared to the other folks in my field?
Yeah, it's suddenly relevant, right?
Yeah, totally. It's not just this abstract brand thing.
It's personal.
Exactly.
And that's when they really start to pay attention.
So, okay, I can hear some people thinking, well, isn't that just ego stroking? You know? Isn't that just giving the CEO what they want to hear?
That's a fair point, you know?
Yeah.
That's a fair concern. But I think, you know, honestly, it's more about making things relevant than it is about vanity.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, a lot of executives, they just don't connect with those broad brand metrics as much.
Yeah, they might get it on like a conceptual level, but
Yeah, but it doesn't really like hit home for them.
right. It's not their personal goals, right?
Exactly.
It's not how they see their impact.
Yeah, it's about making the information relevant to their specific viewpoint.
Yeah, I totally agree. And look, I mean, while overall media mentions and positive sentiment for the brand, I mean, that's great. That's important.
Sure.
But it can feel a bit hollow for the CEO.
Yeah, if they don't see themselves in it.
Right. You know, if their own contributions, if their own visibility, if their own public image isn't part of that story.
Hmm.
It's not just about the brand, it's also about the leadership, you know, and their reputation.
And this kind of leads us perfectly into this whole idea of the CEO dashboard.
Yeah.
You know, we've heard a lot of frustrations from PR teams like about CEOs who, you know, they don't seem to really value measurement or who are really hesitant to approve budgets for PR.
Mm-hmm.
And it's often because the reports aren't focused on them.
Yeah.
Right? It's not speaking their language.
Exactly.
So what's really cool here is this idea of building a view, like a tailored view that's specifically for the CEO and their interest.
Yeah.
So this CEO dashboard, as Philip Odiakose talked about it, within this P plus MCA framework, you know, which by the way is all about showing how PR contributes to the bottom line.
Right.
It often has things like the CEO's individual media presence.
Like, where are they being mentioned? How often are they being mentioned?
Yeah, makes sense.
What's their share of voice within the industry?
Mm-hmm.
What's the sentiment like around their name?
Right.
You know, are people saying good things? Are people saying bad things?
Yeah, that's important to know.
How are they positioned as like a thought leader in their field?
Yeah.
And then like the big one, how do they compare to other CEOs, you know, their peers?
Oh yeah, that's the one that gets them, right?
Right, because it's like their name is on the scoreboard.
Exactly.
It's not just the brand anymore, it's them.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly the data is way more compelling, right?
Yeah.
Because it's personal.
And it shifts that conversation from like general brand performance, you know, to something that directly impacts them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, their leadership, their standing, all of that.
So to really get this, you know, to illustrate how powerful this can be, let's talk about this real world example, this wake-up call from South Africa, you know, the insurance brand.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, I thought this was so interesting. So the PR team there, they were having a really hard time getting their CEO to speak at this big industry event.
Right.
You know, and he kept saying, not now, not now.
Not now.
Which I'm sure a lot of PR people have heard that before.
Oh, yeah, classic.
So they were kind of stuck, right? And they decided to like try something different.
Okay, car.
So they did a full audit of the COO's media performance.
Okay.
And what they found was kind of shocking. His visibility score was dead last compared to all the other major competitors in the industry.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's gotta hurt.
Right.
Yeah.
So can you just imagine the moment when they presented that information to him?
Ooh.
Like the CEO's immediate reaction was, how can I be last on the scoreboard?
Yeah, that's a wake-up call.
Right. And suddenly that industry event, the one he kept saying, not now to.
Right.
It became way more important.
Yeah, because now it's about his image, his reputation.
Exactly, yeah.
He wants to be seen. He wants to be out there.
It's like the data really did the convincing.
The data did the heavy lifting.
It wasn't the PR team nagging him.
Exactly.
It was, you know, the numbers.
Facts, right. Facts don't lie.
And within a week, he's talking to the PR team. He's asking for the event schedule.
Wow, that's a turnaround.
Right. So, I mean, it just goes to show, you know, how much leadership is driven by that comparison.
Yeah.
Like, how do they stack up against their peers?
They don't want to be at the bottom.
Nobody wants to be at the bottom.
Right.
And it's not just about like seeking attention, you know.
Yeah.
There's also like really important implications for a CEO's reputation that go way beyond just their current job.
Oh, absolutely. We have to remember that, you know, CEO's reputation, it doesn't just exist within their company, especially nowadays.
Right. It's also interconnected now.
Yeah. And a lot of CEOs, they serve on multiple boards. You know, they're involved in all kinds of things.
Right. They're not just in one silo.
Exactly. So what they do and how they're perceived in one place, it can affect all those other areas.
Yeah, the ripple spread.
Exactly.
So, I mean, you think about this example, right? This multinational FMCG brand in Nigeria, their chairman also had a board position with a financial services company.
Okay.
And when that financial company hit a rough patch, you know, there was a crisis there, all the negative press, all the bad sentiment, it didn't just stay with that one company.
Oh, no, it's spilled over.
Right, it's spread.
Because the media and people in general, they tend to connect those dots, right?
They do.
They see, oh, this person is involved in this company and this company. And so, yeah, if one's having a rough time, it can definitely cast a shadow on the others.
And a CEO's risk, you know, it's not just limited to one place.
No, it's across the board.
Yeah. And this is where like having those CEO specific metrics becomes even more crucial, right?
Yeah, because if you're tracking the media coverage, the sentiment, everything related to that CEO, you can see those risks. You can see those warning signs maybe before they become a problem.
Right. You can catch those negative trends early on and deal with them before they, you know, blow up and hurt the CEO's reputation and then potentially all the other organizations that they're connected to.
Exactly. It's all about being proactive, you know, staying ahead of the curve.
So to bring this all home, you know, I think the main takeaway here is that if PR wants to move from being seen as this cost center to being seen as a true strategic partner, a vital part of the organization. They have got to focus on the CEO.
Yeah, CEO metrics, that's the key.
And it comes down to like a few really concrete things.
Yeah.
First, you've got to include those metrics, the CEO metrics, the leadership metrics in your reports consistently.
Make it a habit.
Yeah.
Don't just do it once in a blue moon.
Second, don't just present the data in a vacuum, you know, benchmark it.
Right.
Compare it to other CEOs, their peers.
Because that's what gets their attention.
Exactly. And third, use that data to have real, meaningful conversations with the leadership team.
Yeah, high-level strategic conversations.
Yeah.
Not just, oh, here are the numbers, but what do these numbers mean? What do we do with this information? How do we use this to improve things?
And when you can show how the CEO is doing, you know, their public performance along with the overall brand performance, it's like you're finally speaking their language, right?
Yeah, you're talking in a way that they understand, in a way that they value. You're giving them insights that directly affect their role and their reputation. That's how PR earns a seat at the table.
You know, gets that seat at the table.
That's how you get invited to those important meetings.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, it's clear that, like, making PR reporting more impactful for CEOs, it really hinges on this shift, right?
Yeah.
It's about incorporating those CEO-centric metrics.
Absolutely.
And so now it's your turn, right? The listener's turn.
Yeah, it's time for you to take this and think about it in your own work.
What can you do, right? How can you apply this idea of, you know, leadership visibility and using data specific to the CEO within your own world?
What metrics would be most relevant for your CEO? And how could you present them in a way that really grabs their attention?
Yeah.
You know, in a way that shows them the value of what you're doing.
And to leave you with one final thought, you know, to really chew on, how could a fundamental change in how we do PR reporting, how could putting leadership visibility at the forefront, you know, how could that really change how PR is seen within your organization?
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, I think it's worth thinking about.
Absolutely.
I think it's a really powerful question.
It could be a game changer, you know.
It could be a game changer, yeah.